Two upcoming movies, The Finest Hours with Chris Pine and Black Mass with Johnny Depp, will showcase their stars' fake Boston accents. Now, cinema's full of actors putting on fake Beantown voices. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what is it that makes the Boston accent so tricky to capture? We all know that Bostonians drop their R's. Avant-garde. Now, it seems like that should be easy to replicate, but actors actually get it wrong all the time. And by the way, just to indemnify myself, I am a native Bostonian and I can recognize when the accent is done incorrectly, but when I try to recreate some of the sounds here for you, I might get them a little bit wrong myself. So what are the big pitfalls? Well, sometimes actors don't commit to the full R drop. They keep some tension at the base of their tongues instead of relaxing, letting the sound travel to the front and top of their mouths. Listen to Chris Pine say more water with a little bit of tension at the base of his tongue.
Just more water.
Instead of going all in with a more water. Likewise, here's Johnny Depp saying ever with a little bit of a lingering R at the end of the last syllable.
That is one of the best goddamn steaks I ever had in my life. Ever.
Instead of going all out with an ever. By contrast, listen to Whitey Bulger on tape.
And after 4 months for punishment, they sent me to Alcatraz. And that was it. I never cracked.
What makes this even trickier is that real Bostonians don't actually drop the R every time. They often leave it in when it's before a vowel. Listen to Kevin Costner get this wrong in The Company Men when he half drops the R in America. And here's Costner committing the same offense again in 13 Days when he drops the R in Their Own Minds, making it They Own Minds, when he should actually leave the R in.
The weak ones are these people who can't seem to speak their own minds.
You know I don't mean that they're weak.
No, they just lack a moral toughness.
Bostonians also don't drop the R when the vowel itself is as in Larry Bird. Listen to Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting overdo it here when he drops the R in occurred.
Something occurred to me. I fell into a deep, peaceful sleep and haven't thought about you since.
Except for a few upper-class Brahmins who might say occurred or Larry Bird, real Bostonians don't drop the R there. And Robin Williams' character in Good Will Hunting was not meant to be a Brahmin, he was working class. But non-rhotic speech, which is linguists' fancy term for dropping R's, isn't actually unique to Bostonians. Other working-class city accents influenced by Irish and Italian immigrants, like New York and Chicago, also drop the R. If you don't believe me,
Just forget about it.
adding to the confusion around R dropping is that some Bostonians actually insert an R, known as the intrusive R, in spots where it normally doesn't exist. So you don't have an idea about something, you've got an idea about it. You're sawing wood and you make an ATM withdrawal. R's aside, the other element that can sometimes trip actors up is the shape of Bostonian vowel sounds. Older generations of Bostonians will sometimes use a broad A, like path instead of path, or bath instead of bath. Listen here to Ted Kennedy say past instead of past.
It just seems to me that this nation can cope and deal with its problems in a way that it has in the past.
Being aware of this, actors sometimes try to mimic the broad A. But language usage studies show that most Bostonians born after about 1952 don't actually use the broad A anymore, and even if they do, it's only in certain words. They never say dance or Masa's thesis. For some arbitrary reason, it's just not used in those syllables. There's also a tricky thing around words with OR in them. Some, like horn, can be pronounced two ways, as either horn or han, but others only get pronounced one way, and it's difficult to know which is which if you're not a native Bostonian. It's never spats, it's only sports. Which is why Tom Hanks gets it wrong in Catch Me If You Can when he calls it a repat instead of a report.
You mean those numbers on the bottom of a check actually mean something?
All of this was in the report I filed 2 days ago.
Yet another vowel oddity, or should I say oddity. You've caught a fish in New England and you sleep on a cot. It's the same sound. But listen to Tom Hanks say bother when he should say bother.
How come you're so serious all the time? Does it bother you, Mr. Anders?
In the end, almost no non-native Bostonian, or even a native Bostonian like me who doesn't come naturally to the accent, is going to be able to replicate it to the satisfaction of a local. Partly that's for the reasons we've outlined, but it's also because there are a lot of regions like Rhode Island and Maine and Vermont, and a lot of social classes from working class to Brahmin, that each have their own perfectly distinctive dialects. Actors will sometimes aim for the broad middle of these dialects and lump them together, creating a hodgepodge of accents that doesn't really nail any one of them. To locals, those distinctions matter.
Can we wait until the morning to fool around? Because I'm exhausted, and I got the night bloats.
Yes. Good morning. I'm exhausted too.